Good evening and welcome to the March 26th, 2025 Mengen Park Neighborhood Association meeting. My name is Jennifer Holden. I am the Neighborhood Association lead, and we have a fine agenda set up for tonight's meeting. We're going to start with SacPD safety minutes with Captain Justin Sylvia of SacFire and Lieutenant Zach Eaton of SacPD. And then we are going to hear from Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Metropolitan District. I always get that. It's like 5 letters. I get it mixed up. We're going to hear from Janice Lamb and Catherine Chinchu, who will share with us updates on air quality monitoring in the area and some great programs on air quality we've got coming up that we'd love people to participate in. And then we will be talking about 34th Avenue in Mengen Park, the former city tree nursery. Everybody's always asking me for an update. We'll do our best to get a good one for you tonight, as well as park improvements that are in the works. So we're off to a great start. Captain Justin Sylvia, good evening. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I couldn't ask for better weather.
I agree. Very nice day today. So from the Sacramento Fire Department, just a couple things to report out to you guys. We started our city BLS ambulance program. It's a public-private partnership with Medic Ambulance. You may have seen some of these ambulances around. They actually look just like ours, just a little bit smaller, and they have Medic Ambulance Company's logo on them, on the sides and on the back. These are basic life support units reserved for lower acuity calls such as chronic types of pain, back pain, mental health emergencies, things of that nature. So far, the program's going very well. I'd say the only sticking point that we're seeing so far is these ambulances getting stuck on what we call wall time, meaning that they cannot offload a patient right when they get to the hospital, and they're sitting there for sometimes upwards of 4 hours, which is quite unfortunate because it's a very valuable asset that frees up our advanced life support units for people who are having heart attacks, strokes, things of that nature, who do need a paramedic in the back and do need more interventions. But so far, the program's going very well. On April 4th, we will be graduating our first class of our EMS Academy. These are more commonly referred to as single role EMTs or single role paramedics. So they will wear a very similar uniform to ours. However, their sole function is to work on an ambulance. The addition of these new employees even more ambulances for basically full time during the day. One's a 24-hour car, then the other one is kind of a flex unit. We're just waiting for a little bit more staffing on those units to deploy even more of those. So essentially, that's 9 more ambulances into the system. We've noticed that as the community's needs change, so does our service delivery model, and that's exactly what we're trying to do to fit on the EMS side of things. On the fire side of things, if you have noticed with this beautiful weather that we're having and all this rainfall that we have had, we're seeing significant growth in vegetation, and now is the prime time to start knocking down this vegetation, getting it away from structures. We won't see something like LA. However, we do have a little bit of what we call wildland urban interface. And that's basically all this brush that butts against houses or structures. So if we clear that debris prior to fire season and not during fire season, you will see a drastic decrease in the wildfire potential. I just did a story actually in West Sac last night about the goats. You'll see goats out that are for vegetation management. This is a really good way for us to connect with the community. Having these goats out there, kids love them. It's a good, they usually put them around walking trails. It's really good for kids to come out and see, but it's also really good fuel management, getting in to areas on levees and embankments that we would have to bring heavy machinery into. So it's a great utilization of nature, and it's increasing every year. So that's kind of what's cooking for the fire department. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask.
All right, I'm going to ask my question. It's kind of quiet out there. I tend to wait until everyone else is gone. Ashley, did you have a question?
Oh, I was just going to comment that I'm really excited for the growth of ambulances and all that in our city because I know it's very impacted. So that was really exciting to hear.
Yes, we have a very impacted system. There's sometimes that we get down to only 5 ambulances within the entire city. So with the addition of these ambulances and some legislation that has passed and a lot of behind talks, hopefully we can decrease these wall times to get a good turnaround on our ambulances and get them back on the street to serve
I think we're all pretty excited about that. That sounds great. And I was also excited to hear about goats and walking paths and places to take kids. 2 years ago, Matt King of Chorley Park brought in goats into Chorley to help reduce the fire hazard because we'd had so many, cooking fires set in a high brush area. And the goats were a mixed bag. People either loved them or hated them, but I definitely know that people who were in favor of them wanted to take the kids out to see. Is there any way for us to help let other people know about the ability to go and be in support of goats as brush clearers?
The ones that I did the story on last night were in West Sac. I do some PIO work for West Sac. They don't have a PIO, so with our automatic aid agreements, it lets me slide over to the other side of the river and talk for them. But yeah, it was a good story. It actually went national. Fox 40 did it, and it's taken off across the United States. So I think we're kind of leading the way with using agriculture and wildlife together to mow this heavy brush that we get along fire-prone areas.
Oh yes, I think they're brilliant. This is for a neighborhood that's had as many problems as we've had with fires. The thought that you could have the goats come through in the spring and knock back your risk by 80%. Yay. Sure, there's a couple of downsides, but in general, it's a big yay.
Yep.
All right. So then I will go looking for the Fox 40 clip. And I will make certain that Matt and Lindsay King of Chorley Park get a link to that clip also. They'll want to hear about it. Yeah, we'll see what we can do to keep support for the program going. And I don't want to cut you off, but I also have a feeling you're looking like you're ready to move to your next conversation of the evening. And so I want to say, unless there are any more questions, thank you very much. We appreciate your time on this busy evening, and I'll even put it in the recording. Captain Sylvia and Lieutenant Eaton are here on short notice because of my poor messaging. So they are here at great grace. And I appreciate them making it here on such short notice to talk to us this evening. So double thank you to you, Captain Justin.
Absolutely. Anything for you, Jen.
Oh, thank you. Well, have a grand evening. Towing it again.
You too. We'll see you later.
And next part of Mencken Park Safety Minutes is with Lieutenant Zach Eaton of SacPD. And he is also being fabulous and managed to get a report put together for us today, given my short notice. So I mean, fabulous service, fabulous. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And, take it away, Lieutenant Eaton. Tell us what you got.
Yeah, do you mind if I share my screen?
Oh, let me do that for you. Just a second. We have a really, I think you can probably get in now.
There we go. All right.
I am going to say everybody in this meeting is highly trustworthy, and we're just gonna, give you that capacity.
Oh, no problem. Can you see this report on your screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I wanted to introduce everybody. Good evening, everybody. I wanted to introduce all of you to South Command's year in review, otherwise known as an annual report. So basically what we did this year is we piloted a report that reviews everything that happened in police districts 4 and district 5. And we're going to give you kind of a snapshot of what happened in 2024. So I'm gonna thumb through this really quick. I won't go over the whole thing, but I'm also going to give you a copy of it in the chat so you can access this. There's a link to it that's accessible online. Does that sound good?
Sounds great. Yes,
Okay.
please.
Let's roll through this. So as you kind of click through this, you can see everywhere that we are at on social media has all of our social media accounts linked here. Gives you a little bit of a table of contents, our mission statement, what SPD stands for, kind of our values. It'll give a statement from the chief, which I'm going to let you guys read when I send this out. And then it'll also give you, see if this is going to go. Goodness gracious. I'm sorry. I don't know why this thing's being weird.
You're doing fine.
Hang on one second. Let me just come back down here. Okay. All right. So moving forward, it tells you a little bit about South Command and the areas and the different neighborhoods that we cover. Kind of getting into the nitty gritty of what South Command is. So we have 1 captain, 4 lieutenants, 14 sergeants. There's 86 officers that service your area, with 6 community service officers, and then 4 professional staff. So you basically have a small city police department that serves the entire south area of the department. Here's the maps for District 4. Obviously, Mengen Park would fall in District 4, particularly 4B area. And then here's your District 5. We had to put the map in sideways because of the geographical layout. And then it gives you a little bit about the captain's background, Captain Bale's background, gives you a little bit about my background, the other lieutenants that work your area. This is for 2024, so some of the lieutenants have changed. Some pictures of our patrol teams. But this is kind of what I wanted to focus on this for tonight. So this is kind of one of our statistical snapshots. So calls for service in the South area for police last year were over 90,000. We took about almost 17,000 police reports. We made over 2,200 arrests. There's 169 shot spotter activations in our areas. We seized 210 guns. We attended 102 community events, which is quite the output in my opinion. We used force only 22 times based on the rate of calls that we go to. That 22 number is very, very, very low, which we like to see. So 42 victims shot in all of the South area last year. Again, a number that's trending down from the previous years. And then you can see a DUI arrest. The city had over 10,000 IMT calls all of last year. 7,300 of those calls included a police officer on the IMT team that responded to them. So there's a lot of city IMT calls that get 311 calls that get made and get closed throughout the year. Response times. So these are the response times for District 4. As you can see, we're pretty quick to get to emergency calls. 11 minutes, 27 seconds is your average. 19 minutes for priority 3 through 5s, and then your priority 6 through 7 calls are going to be your report calls. But if you're curious about the definition of those priority calls, they're listed below for you to take a look at a later time. And then moving on to District 5, response times go up a little bit more because it's a little bit busier of a district. We do see a higher call volume in that district. Still trending around the same time. We take longer to get to report calls because there are more report calls in that area. This is a little about what our violent crime reduction team focused on last year. They were focused on the Alder Grove and Marina Vista neighborhood up near Lamb Park. We had a lot of historical violence and continuing violence that happened in there, particularly between gangs. As you can see, they made 63 felony arrests. They took 50 guns off the streets, multiple pounds of narcotics, and really drove down violent crime in that area for the year. Gives you an overview of our South Pop team, what they do, shows you some of the stats that they do. They do a lot of different things. They're kind of the catch-all team. They do bait package arrest. They assist code enforcement. They do crime prevention through environmental design assessments. They issue administrative warning letters. They make arrests. They also seize firearms, and they serve a lot of search warrants. So moving into community engagement. Big pillar for us at South Command here. We really commit to doing whatever community engagement that we can. So like I said, we hit 102 community events. We hit 10 neighborhood watch meetings, 51 neighborhood and community association meetings, 23 PVID meetings, and then we're heavily involved with the schools at 37 events. And then the Heroes and Helpers has its own slides coming, so I'll show you. But there's some pictures of all the events that we go to, playing football with some of the kids and other stopping by birthday parties and doing some of that fun stuff that we love to do. There's a slide that introduces you to our CSR community service representative. Her name's Amanda. She coordinates a lot of our community outreach. So there's a little bit about her in the report. She also runs Adopt a Class, where we go to classrooms of grades 2nd through 6th over a 5-month period. And it kind of just tells you a little bit about meeting with the kiddos and just having a good time with them. And our officers join Amanda in doing that. There you are, you can see it, Amanda and Officer Weaver were heavily involved in this program. We moved to our turkey drives during the holidays. We served 100 families this year. We focused on Phoenix Park, and we did this in partnership with Bobby Jackson Foundation. 100 bags of sides, 100 frozen turkeys to 100 families, and $2,000 worth of grant money, which was a great event. We go out and help pass out the turkeys, and there's a lot of logistics involved with that event. We also do Heroes and Helpers, so that's a fantastic event. We partner with the local schools to reach out, who reach out to us and let us know the individuals who are of in need, whose family maybe can't afford to provide Christmas gifts. And so what happens is we get about 40 children. Usually we serve 43 this year, but we get about 40. Everybody gets a $100 gift card that's provided by Target, and then a police officer goes and shops with them for Christmas and their family in the store. So it's a pretty cool event. People really like it. It's a lot of fun. So there's some pictures that you can see of us shopping during the holidays with them. It's pretty awesome. And so we held 2 of those. We held one at the Consumnes River Boulevard, Target in South Sacramento, and then the one up on Broadway and Riverside. And then some more community engagement photos for you. And then cool little thing, just for you, those who live in the South area, the Home Depot on Meadowview hooked us up big time this year and helped us improve our police facility. They gave us a $25,000 grant, and they came in and helped us paint the gym. They gave us 2 Traegers, a bunch of patio furniture. They came in and redid a whole bunch of things for us, and they actually gave labor to it free. So it was just, they call it Operation Surprise, and they usually do it for veterans, but they made an exception and did it for us this year. Gave us a Christmas tree, a whole bunch of storage, a tough shed, just stuff that we were really in need of to help improve the facilities for our officers. And the outcome of this was our officers, the morale really improves because they're coming to a place now that's got even more stuff to take care of them, because they're away from their families during the Christmas holidays and the Thanksgiving holidays, and we try to do whatever we can to leave them food. So just having new patio furniture and really cool top of the line cooktops is pretty awesome. So big shout out to Home Depot. They were absolutely gracious and just awesome people to work with. So very proud of them, and it was quite humbling, to be honest. So anyway, that is a quick overview of our our year-end report. Every command will do that this year for their respective areas. So you'll see that coming out this year, but we'll do it again for 2025. And we'll probably build on it and make it even bigger. So yeah, other than that, I don't really have anything to add for current events. Everything's tracking pretty good this year so far. We've been, knock on wood, we've been trending down again in the South area, which is great to see. Jen, I know that you have probably some concerns still about, 3-on-1 and some of the things that haven't been answered. I heard you brought some of it up at council recently, but I don't have any specifics for Mengen Park other than what I know Jen wants to talk about probably, but we haven't identified any crazy crime trends going on in the neighborhood, which is great. But obviously if you have seen something, I'm more than willing to listen for us to address. But other than that, looking forward to working with you guys this year. My phone line or my email are always open for you, and we're very responsive people, so we will get right back to you. So with that, Jen, I'll turn it over to you for any questions that you or the group might have.
So I have a question, and let me know if it's in the PowerPoint. I am driving, so I might have missed it.
Yes, ma'am.
But one thing that I don't think I saw was population. So when I think about, okay, increase of volume of police calls and things like that, I also think about anecdotally our city is growing.
Sure.
So I don't know if I missed in the PowerPoint, but knowing if we're going up in population, but our calls are going down, our rates are going down in a positive way, that means, right, that looks good, right? More people, less crime, or in the opposite, that could help highlight, hey, are we stretching our resources too much?
Sure.
And is that taken into account?
Yeah, so we didn't measure population. We know that the census obviously said that Sacramento's population continues to grow. We are tracking down in terms of calls for service comparative to 2023. So while I think our population is going up, we are also seeing less calls to the police department. However, a lot of with the city's IMT set up, how it's set up, it's a little bit different because calls that the police department would normally get in the past are being transferred over to 3-on-1, even though we still have officers and another lieutenant that works on our IMT. Those calls are still being transferred over there. So, if you're seeing crimes in progress or narcotics that are related to a larger homeless camp, historically, the police department would respond and the POP team would address those. Now your IMT services are addressing those through our city's IMT process. So there's a lot of moving parts to it. Ashley, it's a really good question. That's something that I'll look at putting in 2025. But as we're triaging different calls, things are getting moved around in the city like they haven't totally been in the past. So that's kind of like my answer to that. But I don't have it's not something that we totally measured this round.
It would be more of a round of applause if we could see that, like, this is what this other program is doing. It's deflecting emergencies that are being supported by the other program, and the police are really addressing that there. And that's why we're seeing a positive turnaround in all the calls. So, that would be a nice view to show to support that program too as well.
Definitely. Thank you for the suggestion.
Question, Jennifer?
Actually, Mr. Joe, I see you're off of mute, and I thought I'd give you the next question.
Thank you very much. Lieutenant Zach, Lieutenant Eaton, you enjoy the community engagement and that support from local businesses. I think that's fantastic. Let me just introduce myself. I'm a Elk Grove resident with business activity in the Sacramento area, and I have a church property that I maintain, which is right at Valley High and Center Parkway.
Okay.
And I'm invited to these meetings by Jennifer, and I've attended them for a year plus, and I'm really happy that officers like you come to share information with the community, because it really makes a big difference and it gives us a feel for what's happening in Sacramento.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate that. Community engagement. How does that translate into local hire?
You mean like us hiring local officers?
Yes.
Yeah, great question. So a lot of times when we go to the community engagement, we take our recruiting officers with us. And we've actually rolled out a program a couple years ago where we're actually using our officers that aren't identified as recruiting officers, so they don't work in our recruiting unit. So your POP officers and your violent crime reduction officers and your patrol officers, those are the officers that are also recruiters, because we know that the people who wear the badge are typically the best at recruiting people, right? And so we have a pipeline hiring process in this city. And so what we do is we look for people who maybe aren't, we're obviously look for people who want to be police officers, and we try to hire those people as best we can. But what we really focus on is looking for people from our community who actually live in Sacramento, who may not even be old enough to work for the police department in terms of being a police officer. So for an example, we look to hire people who are 18 and 19 years old and get them into the police department as student trainees. And it's a really cool position because you get to work with detectives, you get to work with CSI units, you get to work with a whole bunch of different units while we are paying you, we're working with your school schedules, giving you a job and teaching you about the department. So with the idea that if we home grow our people, we will get them into our hiring process and continue to build them up until they are old enough and ready to be a police officer. That's something that we've done for quite a while. And we're really, really proud of it. I've actually talked about it around the state a little bit. And I know other departments have been modeling our process that we have here. And there's multiple different ways we can do that, even for people who might be 21 years old that have graduated high school. We have a limited term CSO, so our community service officers, maybe not quite ready to be a police officer, but they're also above being a student trainee. Those are the officers who will come out and take your burglary reports, your cars broken into, and things like that. They will come and take those reports for you, and they're getting on the job training as we grow them to put them through the police academy. So I can tell you that our recruiting efforts are on overdrive because we are really looking for anybody who's qualified that wants to be a police officer, because to be quite honest with you, we're struggling with staffing, and it's not just in Sacramento, it's law enforcement all over the entire country. We're having a hard time finding people who want to do the job.
Okay, thank you. And my other question is about the current state in the United States related to DEI, and whether or not you're bouncing off any of the reactions that is being set from headquarters in Washington.
Yes, sir.
Across the country.
What I would say to that is, none of the policies in Washington that I'm aware of have affected anything that we do. We look for officers who are diverse, not only from where they come from, but how they think too. We live in a very diverse community. Obviously, Sacramento was named the most diverse community in the early 2000s. And working the city for over 15 years, I mean, I can tell you, I know how diverse the city is. And with the pipeline hiring project that we have, that's how we look to get people from all different types of cultures into our department, because we know that it's important to the community. And so we are not steering away from, looking to become more and more diverse, and to have our police department reflect our community is a major goal for us, and it will continue to be moving forward.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Finally, the charts you were showing had priorities on a call, and I didn't get a chance to read through. That's like under the frame of the presentation. So what were those five? It looked like 5 different categories, or
so there's 7 different categories, and I will put the link out in one moment so you can actually pull that up and read it for yourself. But basically, how our department is set up, we are such a busy department that we think about it like an emergency room. We are such a busy department that we have to triage our calls as they come in, and the crimes of violence and everything, they're going to get the first treatment, because it's like a person who's bleeding out in an ER, as opposed to somebody who's maybe got a cut that's controlled, or they have a headache or something like that. So we really try to get to every call, but unfortunately our call volume is so high in such a big city that we have to triage those calls. And so I just put the link in the chat. You can pull it up, but as you read through those priorities, you can see the definition of how we categorize and triage those calls, because those priorities dictate obviously what calls officers go to first. So your priority 2s are going to be like your crimes of violence, your robberies in progress, your shootings. A priority 1 is an officer needs help, or an officer is down or hurt. And then you can see as it moves through your priority 3 through 5s, your priority 3 is going to be your burglaries in progress, sort of your other in progress or time element type calls, something that maybe happened within the last 5 or 10 minutes. And then your 4s and your 5s are going to be like your disturbances in your neighborhoods, maybe a disturbance, of the domestic violence type, not a domestic violence in progress where there's injuries, but, a husband and wife arguing and certain things like that. And then your priority 5s, your 6s and 7s are going to be your cold report calls, stolen license plates, vehicle broken into where nobody's on scene and things like that. So there's a whole host of calls that we get here at the Sacramento Police Department, and we do our best to triage them, and we review them a lot too. So we definitely take a look at everything that we do. We're always trying to refine that process too. So if you do call in, you get that survey for our customer service. Basically, you get a link, and I highly encourage you to fill it out, because I can tell you, especially at South Command, me and the captain read through those reviews, and we either give them to the officers where they do a really good job, or we have discussions with our officers where we need to improve our customer service. So we really, really value that feedback. So
thank you so much. I really appreciate that thorough answer. Those are my questions. Thank you, Jennifer.
Certainly, and we have a few other people who have entered the meeting, and so I want to welcome Chris and Matt. Either of you or anybody else have some questions for Lieutenant Eaton? My goodness.
I'll have something.
There we go, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Thank you.
Hi. Hey, it's budget season. Would you like to talk about the police budget? Because I understand they're doing 15% cuts across the board. And I saw Kathy Lester's report last week at City Council. And it seems that you guys are down to cutting people now. Like, there's at least 12 positions that are on the chopping block.
Sure.
And I'm wondering about Measure U money and how that is supposed to actually be used to help you guys.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have a lot of details on that, nor do I think it's totally appropriate for the police department to answer the city business questions like that. I think the council and the city manager's office will be able to, answer those a little bit better. What I can say is I know when we went through this last year, we started at 15% across the board that, all departments did. But when it came time to make decisions, the city council and the city manager's office found a way to not lose people. So we're obviously hopeful, not just for the police department, but for every city department. We don't want to see people lose their jobs. Obviously, we're faced with another 44 million to cut this year. And, I think we're really confident in our city manager's office and the city council to make the decisions that they deem appropriate to continue to provide, those city services. As far as the police department goes, we are already understaffed. We're already down almost 100 officers. And so we're obviously looking at technology and other things that are out there to help us, where, the staffing issue in law enforcement has long been an issue really since, I would say, for 4 or 5 years now. And so it's something that we don't really see getting better. And that's why we're looking at different pieces of technology to help us where, we look at it and we try to forward think, okay, we're not getting the bodies in the police department that we really need. So one, we use a lot of our vacancies for paying overtime for officers to fill your street. to fill your streets and to put people in police cars, so our service levels don't go down. But we're also looking at other technologies to help supplant us. But again, that costs money to implement. So yeah, we're hopeful and confident that the city will bring us, through this. I know that a lot of it is very unknown right now, and it's still really early in the budget process. And we have some very smart people that are leading the city. And I'm really looking forward to see what they do. But we're just going to continue doing what we do at SacPD, and we're going to figure out ways to provide service, even if the decision is made to take some money from us. We will still figure out a way to give you that service. Hopefully we'll keep it at the same level, but we can't always guarantee that it'll stay at the same level.
Got it. And one more question. I found out that citizens, if they schedule it, they can actually come and listen to a roll call. Like the swing shift is usually good at 2:30. Can you sort of explain what roll call is and what we can expect if we signed up for it?
Yeah, good question. So there's two different ways that we could do roll call. One is, well, let me tell you what roll call is first. So when officers start their shift, at the very beginning of their shift, they come in to the station, and we have a roll call room at all of our substations, and basically they get their assignments for the day. So officers could be signed up in a certain area, but they could be shifted to another area, the city based off staffing needs. And so that is basically like the start of their shift to kick it off. So they'll get their assignment. If they have a partner that day, they'll identify who that partner is. They'll go over crime trends. They'll go over different things that are happening in the areas that they're working to, be on the lookout for. Broadway had a smash and grab overnight. And so the officers coming on, I'm just using this as an example. Broadway, say a business was broken into on Broadway. We will talk about that. And if there's, video surveillance, we'll show the officers the video surveillance and roll call. So if they happen to see a suspect matching the description, they can respond to that appropriately. What I like to do is when I worked as a graveyard sergeant in your area, Chris, we actually started doing roll calls in the streets. So what we would do is we would take roll call out of the department, and we would come to you, and we would hold it on like in somebody's front yard, or we would do it on a street corner, and we would conduct it just like we would in the police department, but kind of keeping transparency in mind and allowing the community to be part of our department. Obviously, we're a very transparent department. We want the feedback, but it's a chance for, things that we may not know about, especially like in Land Park, the porch pirate stuff happens a lot. Packages get stolen and different things. So when we take roll call into the streets, we can actually hear from you directly. And it's nice to meet the officers too, who work your area. So you don't see an officer drive by and you're like, oh, there goes a police car. You can say, oh, there goes Zach. He works my area. So I really like taking roll call to the streets. LAPD does it all the time, and it's a really valuable program. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can work with me. You can work with the other lieutenants or the sergeants, and we can definitely get I call it neighborhood roll call, and we can just get it out in the streets. It's a lot of fun.
Nice.
What other questions can I answer for you guys?
Matt, do you have any questions? Lindsay?
Maybe. Hey, Chris.
Maybe.
Hey, Zach.
Sir, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Hey, so with some of the cuts, you're down 81 officers right now, roughly?
Roughly. Yeah, I don't have the exact number, but I know it's a lot. It's a lot.
And then the burglary unit is on the chopping block possibly this year?
Yeah, like I said, the 15%, it's an exercise, right? So
right.
It's they go through and they look at, okay, if we lose X amount of money, we have to focus on core services, and it all starts with patrol, right? So patrol is the backbone of the police department. The very simple fact is that when people call 911 and there's an emergency in progress that the police are needed, we need to be able to staff those cars for people to come help you. And so the POP teams, your violent crime teams that do a ton of other work in the community, those are things that we look at, because if we don't have the staffing to fill our patrol officers, we have to pull those officers from somewhere. And so we look at different units that we would have to collapse and say, okay, if this happens, then we have to fill patrol. So we start looking at the different things to do that. I don't have the intimate details. I know that they've been posted, but I also know that those have, in my experience in the past, they have changed dramatically from what they first come out as being. And
Right.
like I said, the city council and the city manager's office, I know that they're all working very, very hard to try to figure a way through this. And, you know, they did last year, they closed a $60+ million hole. And the services at the police department remained unchanged. And so I'm confident that, you know, the incredibly smart people at City Hall will bring us through this again, and looking forward to that. So I'm very, very hopeful, despite some of the things that we've heard. I'm hopeful that they'll find a way through that. And if they don't, obviously some tough decisions will have to be made. But again, those questions should be directed at a City Hall and city manager's office.
Right.
I feel a letter with signatures coming on.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, like when we have these budget meetings and they're discussing it at council, like it would behoove everyone to maybe show up to that meeting. And if you want to like support PD and our fire department and our parks department, all these people are going to get cut and they're already spread thin. Go and share your voice and show support for the officers and tell them we don't want to lose them in our neighborhoods. That's all I got.
Right there with you. Okay, so other questions. I've admitted one or two other people. Letitia, good evening. And Sequita, hello. Do you have any questions for Lieutenant Eaton before I ask him mine?
Hello, sweetheart. Sorry
How
about
are you
that.
doing?
Oh, I'm not doing too well, but I'm on the meeting. I fell
God
yesterday.
bless you. I'm so glad you're
no.
here.
Yeah. Okay, I'm glad to be on. I'm gonna go back on mute.
Okay, did you want to ask Lieutenant Eaton anything?
Oh no, not at this time. Thank you.
All right.
Hope you feel better.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions before I ask a question? Hello, First Lady Lisa, you also came in.
Good afternoon or evening, everybody.
Do you have any questions for Lieutenant Eaton?
Mr. Eaton, about your POP team, what are they doing in regards to the individuals that are unhoused? I don't know if you guys spoke about that. I live in an unincorporated area, so I deal with the sheriffs.
Yeah.
What I've been seeing is they just been coming here and doing a lot of cleanup. There's not enough, they're not giving them any resources that I'm seeing. But I wanted to know, I've heard about the POP team. I've seen the little wrap trucks on it, but I didn't know what it was. I thought it was something like, you know, the DARE program back in the day.
Yeah.
But I would be interested in knowing, you know, since I don't know what's going on in the area where everybody else is in Megan Park area, but in my area, in the unincorporated, they're cleaning up and there's not enough resources. But I want to know if the POP team does anything like that.
Yeah, great question. So our POP team doesn't necessarily focus, their primary focus is not on responses to people experiencing homelessness. Our city IMT is responsible for that, and we do have an impact team that is assigned to the city IMT, and there's a bunch of officers that work on that team that do different things. And, you know, Department of Community Response and some of the other city entities, code enforcement, are also working on this team. And basically they respond out as a whole group to the larger camps when they're doing a cleanup, and they offer different services. You know, they offer root cause responses like, you know, anger management or connection to anger management, substance abuse primarily, and other things like that. So we do it a little bit different than the county does it. So our POP team, what they've been focusing on related to homelessness is we get a lot of complaints about narcotics trafficking out of certain homelessness camps. And we respond to those, especially with the passage of Prop 36. So our POP officers are primarily focused on dealing with narcotics, illegal narcotics complaints right now. and working to, you know, solve some of those problems or address some of those problems. But primarily the response to cleanup is on the city's IMT crew, and they really do a good job. I've watched the IMT crew from their inception to where they are now, and they're pretty fast about cleaning up. Obviously, sometimes they don't come same day, but they are very responsive, and they do a really good job of getting people or offering them resources and connecting people with those resources, and then doing their job of, you know, responding to these camps and cleaning up and offering people shelter and different things like that. So our POP team is not really responsible for that, but they do respond to, you know, a lot of different problems. Unfortunately, our POP team is only 4 officers and 1 sergeant, and that is for the entire South area.
Mm. And then how can I think I reached out to you a couple of weeks ago. I'm coordinating or helping plan the Juneteenth event at the Capitol. Is there a way that we can have the POP team come and be a resource vendor?
Yeah, good question. So I don't think it was me that you reached out to, and if you did, I apologize. I don't remember seeing an email about Juneteenth. There's another executive lieutenant that is in charge of the downtown station. His name is Robert Young, and he would be the person to contact about that. We don't South Command doesn't have any responsibility in the planning for that because it's not in our area. So we do have a POP team that's assigned to downtown Sacramento, and I'm sure that they would love to come.
And how do I get in contact with somebody or send them an email in regards to the invite?
I'm just going to drop an email in this chat for you right now, and you can give them an email directly, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for answering my question.
Yes,
Have a good
you're
evening.
welcome.
Appreciate it.
They are great questions we are asking tonight, and we are over time on this agenda item. I am looking at our SMAQMD speakers and thinking I do need to acknowledge them for their patience. And I'll just make what I was going to ask real brief, but actually I don't even think I need to put it. I mean, I can just say we're still working on that hole in the fence, Lieutenant Eaton.
Okay.
It's still there. Nothing's happened to it.
Okay.
We'll save the rest of the conversation for after the air quality conversation, when Ryan will be talking to us about the former city tree nursery. I think if I just say that hole is still there, that's all I need to, you know, speak to you about this evening. The rest is kind of more of a city administrative matter anyway. So, thank you very much. This has been a great conversation that I have been happy to run a little longer from my end because the questions are so wide and so varied. And Lieutenant Eaton, I will make certain that you get a link to this recording, because I think you might want to have a record of these questions. I have a feeling that these are broad enough that they are going to keep coming your way, and it would be great for you to have a record. So I will make certain that you can access the recording and you know, make a list of the really wonderful and rich questions that have been asked this evening.
Yeah, no, thank you for the question, seriously, and overall, thank you for having us. We really appreciate it. You have my contact info, so if anybody ever needs my contact info, again, I'm your executive lieutenant out south. Jen has my contact info. She has my email address. She knows how to get a hold of me. I will do whatever I can to help you within reason, and I'm very communicative, so please just send me an email and I'll get back to you.
And on my end, I am happy to share your work email around, and I do that from time to time with the neighborhood, as you've probably noticed.
Yep, I love
it. You have done a great job fielding a huge breadth of questions this evening. Really, really very, very good job, Lieutenant Eaton. So
yeah,
thank you very much.
I just want to reiterate one thing. I know I don't mean to go a little bit more. I know everybody's concerned about the budget, but I'm genuine when I say I'm confident in our city leaders. I think that they're doing a fantastic job. They have a lot of different things that they have to consider, and I think that they're doing a great job. So we'll see how it shakes out, but just wanted to reiterate that.
All right, we hear you loud and clear. So thank you so much, Lieutenant Zach. Until the April Mencken Park Neighborhood Association meeting, which will be the 4th week of April. I look forward to seeing you again soon, and thank you very much.
I'll be there. I hope everybody has a great night.
Thank you.
Same to you.
See you. Have a good night.
See you guys later.
And our next agenda item is with the fabulous Janice Lamb-Snyder and Catherine Chin-Chu. I can say it correctly this time. Sacramento Metropolitan, no, wait, Air Quality District. Nope, there's an MD in there. I can't say it now.
Hi, can everyone hear me? Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for inviting us to share some, I think, really exciting news with this community. My name is Janice Lamb-Snyder. I'm with the Sac Metro Air District, and I'm the Director of Community Air Protection. And I have here my colleague, Catherine Chin-Chu, who is one of our air quality analysts. She does a lot of our data information analysis for us. And so tonight, what we wanted to do was to share just a couple of updates on our community air protection program. I know I've came to this neighborhood association before and introduced what we were doing at a community local level. And then also a separate program that we were working on in doing mobile air monitoring in your community. And so today we wanted to just give you a snapshot of what we did and some results. Some results there was a whole bunch, so we're going to defer you to the web page for all of the different results that came up. But we know that air monitoring has been very important to the Mangan Neighborhood Association, and so we wanted to come back and share those results with you and a resource. So with that, I think I'm going to ask Catherine to share her screen. So I'm going to do 2 slides on updating you on the Community Air Protection Program. So go ahead to the next slide. So the last time I shared, or I came to this meeting, we had asked for community members to provide their comments on whether or not we should be expanding our boundaries, the original boundaries, which is what is in brown, to include other areas or neighborhoods as part of our community air protection efforts. And we heard from a lot of community members and support, and Jennifer also came to our cardboard meeting to support this boundary expansion, and actually she's been attending our meetings almost every month, right, Jen? To represent you all. So that's the update, is that the turquoise boundaries is now our official community air monitoring, as well as our community emission reduction plan boundaries. So since then, we've also taken an electric community bus tour around the community to learn a little bit more about, actually get on the ground to see the pollution burdens, the communities, get to know the area a little bit more. We've also done expanded outreach and engagement with surveys in the outer boundaries to encourage people to come join our community meetings, so that we can make sure that we're covering all areas, or as much as areas we can in those boundaries. We've also heard a little from the state on what we call emission inventory. And what that is basically a assessment of what the different types of sources that might be impacting this particular boundary area. So what is it that is, probably the biggest pollution source of the pie? Am I even saying that right? And so the state developed this for us, and were able to share with us, that information. We have also done some community air monitoring in the original boundaries, and that information is being shared out to the community, as well as is posted on our website. And the most exciting thing for me is that, and it's taking us a little while to get here, but to talk about the actual strategies and actions that agencies can take, that community can take to reduce the air pollution emissions, as well as exposure to air pollution in the community. So we're in the beginning process of that. Next slide, please. So in February, we were able to host a couple of workshops to talk about like the different types of actions and share that out with the community. And we, moving forward into the next, let's say 8 months, we're going to be listening and hearing and being guided by community members on what types of actions are most important for the community. And so I would continue to advocate for any of those who are interested to attend our public meetings that are held on the 4th Monday of the month. And if you would like to become a community member, a committee member, please go ahead and use that QR code or the link that we have on the slide. And committee members are members who live, work, or represents an organization within the community boundaries. And since we have expanded it, definitely Mangan Neighborhood Association community area falls into that. So with that, I'll just pause right there to see if there's any questions on this particular topic. And then if not, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague to talk about the monitoring that we did in the area, in the community area.
Question.
Yeah.
Hi. I want to know, you know, one of the biggest problems that we have, Sacramento, is fires. Our fire department actually puts out more homeless fires. They spend most of their time putting out homeless fires more than anything else, except for the summertime when we have other fires, right? So regarding air quality, I would think that that would be a big problem. I've noticed that that has impacted me and my family when there's been an illegal fire started, and you know, it's happened near my home. So is there any discussion about awareness of fire safety and working with anybody who may be trying to use a fire for something?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Definitely when there are, you know, any type of fires, right? Even like barbecues, you do get an air pollution impact. And especially during wildfire season, I know that we do like a big campaign that says like, here, hey, these are poor air quality days. These are things that, you know, you shouldn't be doing. And I think like burning is one of them. And then also in, I want to say the winter time when people also burn in their fireplaces or maybe even outdoor, outdoor like fire pits and things like that. We definitely share information on, you know, what are some of the good practices of if you are to burn, and can you even legally burn on that day if it's a poor air quality day. I think in general, any type of these fires are going to generate air pollution, and I think that trying to I know that we do share about like good practices when you can do it, but any more tailored awareness, I think 617, like our community air protection program, I think we can talk about what are some of the ways to do that better. So, I don't know if that answers.
Well, I mean, I just think that, like, is there any outreach with local fire departments to partner with them and say, hey, you know, because like to talk to me about starting a fire, you know, on the street or a camping fire, I already know all that stuff and I'm not doing it, right? But the police and the fire deal with people who do all the time. So is there any awareness or outreach for, you know, with the fire department and possibly finding ways to partner with them and provide awareness materials for people who are on the streets, as well as people who live nearby who have experienced the fires? You know, like on WX, for instance, the WX freeway by Highway 50, plenty of fires happen there all the time. It seems like some outreach would really be helpful, to the people who live around there and to the people who are on the street around there.
Yeah,
That's all. That's just an idea.
No, that's a great idea, and I think we can take that back to our our steering committee and also figure out like how we can partner with these agencies to get the word out. Yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you.
I just got a real quick one too to piggyback off of Chris. Because I know there's like the spare the air days and no burn days during certain days of the winter if it hasn't rained or what have you. I try to follow all that stuff, whatever. I mean, I'm not always perfect and I get it. If it's cold, whatever. But is there also like we can get fined or whatever? Is there like, to piggyback off of her with the awareness part of it? I understand like a cooking fire or, fire for heat outside if you're unhoused. But I just may be curious, are we getting more pollution for that? Because I guess I understood that 4,500 fires were started last year by the unhoused. And so if, and that's about a third of the whatever metrics of their population right now, 12,000 if you want to call it. But if, like you're following the rules, Chris is following the rules, Jen's following the rules, but then maybe they're not, are we just adding to the, the bad air?
So I think I'll answer it this way. Any fires, I will say, is going to contribute to our ambient, air pollution and what we breathe. I don't know if we've exactly pinpointed like how much of that is, how much of our regular air pollution is contributed to individual fires that anybody, including the unhoused population, would be contributing to it. So I don't know if there's been an analysis for that. So I don't, it's not a great answer, but I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know if there's been any specific.
Yeah, it sounds like that would be a great use of resources, to be able to find that out.
Yeah, and I just say, because I live next to a park here, and they use the barbecue for fires and stuff, but a lot of times, I mean, they're burning like the plastic garbage cans, they're burning like VCRs, and like I can smell the plastic and like the, I don't know, electrical smell, whatever, and I know it's like toxic, and it's like, ugh. I mean, that can't be good, right? Especially if they're right next to it trying to stay warm.
And Janice is also representing a very professional organization, and I am not. So I think I can probably come into this conversation from a direction that she can't. As somebody who's been attending meetings, such as the invitation that is in front of us right now, everybody can see the presentation and the slide. The question about the amount of carbon we're getting in our air keeps coming up. As far as there has been some efforts to monitor it and quantify it. I don't remember those because that's not my gig when I'm there, is to memorize the numbers. But I remember being very surprised at the amount of it that is out there. And there was a very robust conversation one night about that, because we were being told it was our wood burning stoves, and a whole bunch of people, including myself, sat up and went, wood burning stoves? I don't think so. And so I kind of put it down to, that was some very nice way around saying we are starting to get more measurable carbon and results of burning wood, and other sorts of fuels are coming up and being picked up on the monitoring. if I encourage everybody to come and attend the meetings with me at least once a month. There's a website I'm certain Janice is about to tell us all about that contains past meetings, recordings, presentations, so that people can get into that information more. Because we do in the South area, but it's not limited to the South area. I don't want to say it's just us, but the South area does have some very consistent patterns of air pollution that are coming up with the monitoring that we've got. And I think since so many of us on this call right now are community leaders of a variety of stripes, that we do want to be aware of this. And even if coming to air quality meetings isn't your thing, be looking for the people in your neighborhood who do find it their sort of information that they want to get involved in, and start coming with me to these meetings and gathering all of the information, because we should be advocating for our communities. The numbers and the types of pollution can vary based on location and what the activities are going on around you. And so you want to know about your immediate communities, but then you also want to know about the ones who might be a little different, but are pretty close to you in other ways. So I'm going to say, Janice, take it away. Let's move this on. And we will still take more questions. I don't want this to be the end of all questions, but I'm going to say let's advance the conversation a little bit and come back and do more.
Okay, great. All right, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Catherine, to talk about some very specific mobile monitoring.
Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine. Today, I'll be talking about a special project that was conducted in the city of Sacramento in 2023. And so it was a project that was through a partnership with the city of Sacramento and the Air District. And some background on the inspiration for this partnership is the AB 617 program and the corresponding community air protection program, which inspired local agencies to get involved. This bill aims to reduce air pollution in underserved communities. And the city of Sacramento's implementation work plan also aligns with these efforts to reinforce the shared commitment for cleaner air and healthier communities. So some objectives of this mobile monitoring project was one, to perform a neighborhood scale mobile air monitoring in the city of Sacramento to measure pollutant levels for these 3 types of pollutant, with the specifics in the parentheses. So these include several criteria air pollutants, some climate forcers, and volatile organic compounds. The second objective was to focus on areas of interest in the city of Sacramento to identify pollution disparities, and these are shown in the map to the right. And the third is to support ongoing monitoring efforts in the city.
And so let me just add to that really quickly, Catherine. Yeah. These specific areas were areas that were not selected to be part of by the state to be part of the AB 617 process. So the city of Sacramento actually stepped up to say, hey, we've heard from our community members. We know that monitoring is important. So they did provide this grant so that we can do monitoring in these areas. So I wanted to make sure to call that out.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll go into a little bit more background information on the types of pollutants that were measured in this project. The first type are criteria air pollutants, which are outdoor air pollutants that can harm health and environment. And the EPA has set health standards for these. And the following were the specifics that were measured because they're prevalent to Sacramento County. These include particulate matter, which is a mixture of solid particles and liquid droplets in the air. It can come from wood smoke, dust, and wildfires, to name a few. Ground level ozone is a gas formed when nitrogen oxides that can come from burning fuels, and volatile organic compounds, which can come from gasoline or paints, react in the presence of sunlight. It contributes to smog. Nitrogen dioxide is a gas mainly from burning fuel, such as from cars, buses, or power plants. The next category of pollutants that we measured were climate forcers, which can affect Earth's temperature and can also impact health. These include black carbon, which is a light absorbing component of PM 2.5 or particulate matter. It can come from wildfires, wood burning, tire wear, engine exhaust. Methane is a greenhouse gas stronger than carbon dioxide in trapping heat in the atmosphere and can come from landfills, gas production facilities, or dairy farms. And carbon dioxide, a main greenhouse gas caused by human activities such as burning. And the third category of pollutants that were measured are volatile organic compounds. And these are chemicals that are released from things like vehicle exhaust, wood burning, paint, solvents, and building materials. This project measured 3 types of VOCs called aromatics, dienes, and alkanes, and they have somewhat similar sources of emissions, such as from vehicle exhaust, wood burning, and industrial processes. So going into the project itself, the project was split into 3 phases. The first phase was conducting mobile monitoring in 9 Sacramento communities over 21 days from February to March 2023. And this entailed a van equipped with air monitoring instruments that would drive in the neighborhoods to collect that neighborhood scale data. The second phase of this project was to use all of that data and analyze it to identify where measurements are comparatively greater. And these are called pollution focus zones, or PFZs. The third part of this project consisted of stationary monitoring at 10 PFCs to measure daily trends for each of these monitoring locations. So that van equipped with all the air monitoring instruments was parked in one location for a day to capture from morning to afternoon or evening what the air quality looks like throughout the day. For the mobile monitoring portion, the routes were informed by pollution burden and socioeconomic screening tools. You can see in the map below that the routes were kind of split into these routes in the North Sacramento area communities and the South Sacramento communities. How the monitoring was conducted was that each of these routes were monitored at different times of day, each day, to capture variations. So for example, the van one day could start monitoring in one of the North Sacramento communities, and the next day they would start in the South Sacramento community. That way they can get a more holistic idea of what the air quality looks like throughout all times of the days. So for the mobile monitoring results, all that data that were collected from the van were consolidated into maps, such as the one to the right, that show above background pollution levels to identify where concentrations were comparatively higher. So above background concentrations, which are also called local concentrations, are influenced by nearby pollution sources and can help identify specific air quality problems within the community. So just as an example, looking at the chart below, it kind of describes what background, above background concentrations, how they're identified. So our contractors would take the total concentration, so that's both the orange and the blue, and through their analysis, they were able to calculate what the background concentration was, and anything above would be considered the local concentrations that are influenced by nearby pollution sources. So it really helps us better understand if there's any specific neighborhood pollution sources that were captured from the street by street monitoring. So for the monitoring results, I've shared a couple as examples in the South Sacramento area, and in general, or just as an overall, all pollutants with established health standards had concentrations below the standard when considering the total of the background and the above background levels. But I do want to note that the data in the study are the average of the snapshot measurements over 21 days, whereas standards are continuous measurements taken over a longer period, such as hours, days, or a year. What I've shared with you in terms of the results on the screen are for particulate matter on the left, 2.5 microns and smaller, and then black carbon on the right. Looking at the color scale, the darker the color shows that this area has comparatively higher concentrations compared to all the other measurements that were taken.
So hold on for a second here. So I think it's a little bit hard to see because it was hard to put onto a slide. But we do have a website that you can zoom in and out of, basically like a Google map to zoom into the area that you might be interested in. So these are just a couple of examples. Like Catherine shared, we did a lot of measurements for different pollutants. And so I would invite everyone to check out the website to any specific area that you might be concerned about.
Mm-hmm. And we'll be sharing the link shortly. So hang tight and then we'll get there. And you'll be able to navigate that on your own, zoom in and out, as Janice had said. And then going from there, taking all the mobile monitoring data into the phase 2 part of the project was identifying where there was higher pollution levels called PFCs. And these 10 locations were identified for monitoring, as shown in the map to the right. And again, these were monitored for a day from 6 to 12 hours at a time. And the data were compiled into hourly charts to show us the daily patterns from start of from the morning through the afternoon to see if there's specific times of days that we should look further into. And as promised, here's the link. And you'll be able to find more detailed information and monitoring results on this community air quality monitoring story map at this link or through the QR code. You'll get more background information on the project and be able to navigate each of the pollutants and see what the concentrations are like for each of the different types in both North and South Sacramento communities that were part of this study. And that concludes the slides that we have.
Jennifer, I think you're, yeah, there you go.
Here I am. That is a really great report that I have a feeling has gotten people very, very interested. Like I can feel the ears perking forward right now. I am looking at time. We're going to lose Ryan Brown in just a moment. So before I lose Ryan, I just wanted to acknowledge him and say, hey, how you doing?
What's up, Mengen Park? What's up, Jen? Hey,
Going
y'all.
well. Thank you so much for being here. Do you want to say a quick word before we take questions on all those wonderful slides?
Maybe what's the most efficient way to do this? Updates on the tree nursery contract. We, as Jen knows very well, the folks behind the tree nursery, Planting Justice, actually got an architect and actually got staff to move things forward. And we're able to provide that to the city. They got their plans approved. We were also able to negotiate with the Natural Resources Agency to be able to distribute their grant funding in a way that works a little better for Planting Justice. They weren't able to use it on staffing needs, which was their really biggest need to move things forward. We made that change. We updated the timeline, and we are anticipating the next step being completed end of this year into March of next year. This is very complicated. I am happy to answer questions. Not this second. Jen, I know you have my contact. Please feel free to send that out to folks.
Absolutely can do. And we will make it a bigger agenda item for the April one. Do you think that'll give us time to put together a really whiz-bang presentation and
Totally, and I
lots of
can get Amanda
questions?
out too. She's way smarter than me on this.
All right, then we will make that an agenda item for the April one. So everybody here
Wonderful.
interested, Ryan will have a lot more speaking time for this topic next time around. And yes, I do want to take us back to the presentation already in progress, but I am glad that you're here. And if you need to leave at 7:30, I completely understand.
Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it, Jen. The only other small thing is, as several folks in this call have already pointed out, and I'm sure you are well aware, it's budget season. The council is not going to know what the priorities of our residents are if we don't hear from you. I know that a lot of the folks in this call are already well experienced with that. Jen, I will always happily entertain a letter with signatures. You know that. So,
oh yeah.
Note your priorities, let us know. I'll drop my information in the chat. I am your proverbial guy at City Hall. Please do not ever hesitate to reach out if there's something that the Office of Councilmember Maple can do for you. I'm going to put my info in the chat, and then I'm going to drop off because I've had jury duty this week and will next week, and it has been a long one too. I have been selected for the jury for the first time. It's an ordeal.
It
so
must
that
be.
just means I'm doing my day job after 5 p.m.
You have my compassion and my sympathy, and yeah, we'll do more in April when all of this is over.
Sounds good. Keep me posted. God bless. I can't wait. I appreciate y'all. As always, have a lovely evening. I'm gonna drop my email in the chat, and then I will catch y'all next time.
See you, Ryan.
God bless and keep you while you're on jury duty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so coming back, sorry that it we're squishing up against a boundary here, and I needed to recognize Ryan before we left. So do we have questions about what we saw in those slides? About where the pollutants are? I had a feeling that was what was going down.
I have a question, and it just relates to what I think is the elephant in the room, and that's the executive airport. And how does that factor into your evaluation of pollutants, especially those related to fuel burning, exhaust, and the constant movement of air with aircraft coming and going pretty much all day long?
Yeah, I can take a crack at it, and then Catherine, you can jump in if you have any additional things. So what we measure is ambient air. And so what is, being collected is generally what is the air quality at that point in time. And so any influence from the executive airport on those different type of pollutants that you saw during that time, I'm going to caveat it with during that time, because it was a matter of, 21 days, right? Whatever activity was occurring during that time and its impact onto air quality may be captured in the concentrations that you see. And so, but absent of the information of exactly when it was, like the different airplanes that were taken from, that were, flying around during that time, how long, that direct correlation hasn't been made. And so what I'll say is that, if there was an influence from the executive airport in those areas, it would, on those particular pollutants, then it would show that particular result.
Okay, and I understand that it changes from each cycle, your measurement cycle to the next measurement cycle. So it might be higher one day or one block of time than it would be at another block of time. But I recognize that there's a lot of movement there. So your ambient air is taking a hit, if you will, from the burning of the air and the air dissipating and moving around with a variety of factors. So I just wanted to bring that point out to make sure that we weren't leaving that center piece, which is the airport. Surrounding neighborhoods obviously are impacted by that. And I looked at the chart that you're going all the way up to North Sacramento and coming back. So that's Natomas area to, for the most part, to South Sac or to Florin Meadowview.
Right. And
Okay,
those
thanks.
are the two communities that we have consistently nominated to the state to be a part of the community air protection program. And because of, state constraints and resources, they hadn't been able to add very many communities across the state, again, because of the resources. And the city of Sacramento did, like I said, recognize that there was that monitoring that was needed. And they were able to partner with us to provide that funding to do this monitoring.
Okay, and finally, Matt and I think someone else, who is that? Catherine may have mentioned burning, homeless burnings, and then Jennifer had mentioned the wood burning. So are those comparative to what may be taking place at the airport site through the history, the longevity of your testing cycles? So I'm asking you for a longitudinal study for the most part, just to express what happens over a block of time, years.
Yeah. Let me think about that. I think in general, so typically burning wood or, smoke, any type of this type of biomass burning smoke will show up in what we call particulate matter, specifically particulate matter that is the size of 2.5. And one of the results, I'm actually going to just share my screen here for a second, if that's all right, Jennifer. Nope. Am I sharing?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm specifically here in the 2.5 is typically like where we see the like smoke that type of pollutant where wood smoke would be it, is where we did monitor in different times of the day whether or not we would see higher concentrations than all the other areas that were monitored for. So in general, I think, Catherine, you are closer to the data. Did we see anything that was above the health standard or close to what we're seeing regionally? I just couldn't remember specifically.
I don't believe so. All the total concentrations that were measured during this period of time were all below the standards.
The health standards.
The health standards.
Yeah. How does it compare, Catherine? Do you know if we've done that that comparison to what we've seen in other areas? I think potentially that might be a question.
So you can see here for the study, I think that the daily average was 5.5 micrograms per meter cubed. I know for the annual average at some of our regulatory stations last year, I believe we're around 8 or 9 or just under 9 micrograms per meter cubed. So the 5.5 is still below the annual standard. And then as it says here, the daily standard is 35. And so it's below that one as well.
We do have to call out, and I'll, is that these particular measurements cannot be directly compared to health standards because, some health standards are calculated based on like a very long period of time, like over like many like 365 days. But we did want to give that context because we think it's helpful, as you guys are mentioning, that hey, if this is you know, like 5.5 micrograms, you know, how does that impact our health or in relation to what? So that's why we've had that on there.
Okay. Thank you so much, both of you.
Other questions? I think there was some chat conversation about freeways. We have some other industrial areas. Do people have questions about those?
Yes, so this is for all of the surrounding of Sacramento. I have a client I do in-home care for. And the other day I was they had the apartments being inspected. It wasn't even inspected. What they did is they gave her this little mini device to put on her cabinet to do the air quality or something in the home. And they told her not to open the door for at least a week. And then they're going to come back and get this box. And I asked them, I was like, does this have anything to do with air quality control? And he said, it's some type of new program that they have going on. And this is in the Rancho Cordova area. So I don't know, everybody's doing something different, but does this all have effect with all of Sacramento County?
So the area that we monitored were very specific because we wanted to measure for local community impacts. I'm not aware of what is taking place at Rancho Cordova in terms of what you had described. But in general, our air district also has regional air monitors that is representative of, you know, in general, what the air quality is like on a county-wide basis. So we do also have information to, you know, share on a county-wide level.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to ask, yeah, Jen, you mentioned it. Do you like, I know Sacramento is already notorious for bad air. And one of the reasons why is because we're in the middle of farmland. We're in between a lot of freeways. So do you factor those things in too? Do you look at those things when you look at air quality and you say, okay, here's some things that are just always going to happen. It's a given, especially certain times of the year, like spring is coming and my allergies get crazy because everything's blooming, right? And the farmland's being worked on. And so, you know, these are things that we're not going to be able to control at any time. You know, like there's no wind for that. So you guys have already figured that out. Like you've already estimated, okay, this amount of pollution from the cars, the trucks, because of the freeways, this amount from, you know, all the seasonal stuff in the farmland.
Yeah, we have a really good idea in general about what are the different pollution sources that are influencing the pollution here in Sacramento. I mean, I think you guys are spot on, right? You know that during the summertime, you probably feel that, you know, it's sometimes for some people, it might be harder to breathe, especially people who are sensitive, you know, who have my asthma, things like that. And so in Sacramento region, summertime, we do see higher ground level ozone levels. And then during the winter time is where we have a higher PM 2.5 levels. And so both of those type of pollutants, we have a inventory of what might be causing those issues. And as our air district develop plans and rules and different type of strategies to reduce emissions from each of those different types, including the vehicles, including from agricultural, including from, you know, wood burning fireplaces. All of those things have taken have been looked at.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? All right, I'm going to hop in then for just a second. I can't speak for Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District. I can say it now. I just needed a couple of times to practice. The second name is management. So I'm not speaking for them. Janice and Catherine have to be careful. In my work on residential public health concerns, there is a a move right now to increase and report air quality inside residential homes. Now then, I'm not certain that those are the programs that Janice and Catherine are working on right now. They're working on external, more industrial forms of pollution. So, Lisa, your question about the indoor air monitoring definitely has my ears perked.
Yes.
Because I am curious about how that's going, but that is kind of a separate program than what they're reporting on tonight and where they operate within the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District.
And may I must add on there for those machines, I think they, you know how like they have those little monitorings on the wall for the older apartments or homes to monitor carbon monoxide or you know what I'm talking about? Something like that. But yeah.
So you and I can chat and catch up on that a little bit. It's great to have you bring that up as part of the discussion. But Janice and Catherine aren't prepared to talk to that point right
No
now.
problem.
But
I'm
if
sorry.
any of us, if any of us are, you know, out there in the world concerned about air quality, we are getting to a place where we're starting to focus on it and do more monitoring in a wide variety of ways. And indoor air quality monitoring is a very hot topic. I know right now that United Latinos has part of a federal grant to conduct interior air quality monitoring in the South area through the Greening of North Franklin project. That is in progress right now. It got a little slowed up by the lack of federal funding, but I am on that steering committee and I am listening to what United Latinos is doing as far as monitoring indoor air quality. I also have association with the Community Resource Project that helps with home maintenance. And even if that's not exactly their part of the grant, they're getting very interested in that as well. So we can work on having that conversation at Mangan Park sometime soon if that is something that everybody's interested in. I can absolutely reach out to United Latinos and ask them to come and talk to us about that part of their project and how's it going and how we can participate.
You can put me on that list, Jen.
I think I might be able to reach out to our state partners, the California Air Resources Board. They might have an indoor air quality team that I can at least put you all in touch with.
That would be wonderful. Yes, please. Maybe we have them, you know, I just promised Ryan a large part of the April Mangan Park meeting, but we can definitely look at something smallish for April or something big for May. Okay. That could actually be pretty good for May if we want to do a big program. So coming back into their presentation, when Janice and Catherine say they've got well-defined parts, that's because primarily the state is releasing money for specific study areas. So as much as these study areas are designed to be kind of at industrialized areas of Sacramento, because that's, you know, some of the grants are requiring that. It is designed to sort of try to look into those areas we don't look at too often. Just to kind of bring, I think maybe I'll try to make this a little broader for everybody for just a second. As far as a publicly reported federal grade monitor through the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District, the South area has a monitor on T Street in downtown, and there is a monitor in Elk Grove, and there is a monitor out 160 kind of on its way to Rancho Murrieta. We don't have reporting like other sections. So when I have been to, as Janice mentioned, the CARB meeting or the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District meetings, one of the things that I am constantly working on, that it's, you know, Janice can sit there and smile the way Lieutenant Eaton was like, yes, I know, Jennifer, we have things to talk about. Yes, Janice and I, we have things to talk about, because I am constantly in there advocating for monitoring. And so some of what Janice and Catherine are here to tell us about is it's been successful with the help of some other people. we have state grants that are bringing a variety of monitoring programs to the South area. But now that we've got the programs here, we want to have more community involvement and show the state that this matters. So Janice and Catherine are here to kind of, you know, give you the lay of the land and some key words. So what are some of these programs that they're talking about? The AB 617 state grant. We've got a study area that includes Mangan Park now, but there are other parts of South Sacramento in the AB 617 district that they are specifically studying in. That was on one of the maps, and let's get some eyes on that project, that program, and how those studies are going. Then, you know, it's different, but it's kind of linked up. She had a slide up there that said CERP, C-E-R-P. That's another program. And now then, I'm not as prepared tonight as I like to be, and I should be better prepared, but I've been letting my brain wander. The CERP does include some of the mobile air quality monitoring that you were talking about earlier, right?
So the SERP is a plan on the different type of actions that we want to take to reduce emissions and exposure in the community.
So is the mobile air quality monitoring a part of AB 617 or a different project, different program?
Part of a different, what we showed you tonight was part of a different project that we had with the city of Sacramento. However, we can use this information to help inform what the actions might need to be, right?
Okay, so then where we really need community involvement is in the SERP. As a part of constructing the plan, but the people participating in the SERP are being informed by the study results coming out of AB 617 and the mobile monitoring, which I think is SMMI. So they're gathering this information through these different programs that are state funded, which is the California Air Resources Board that they're talking about, is helping with allocating state funds to conduct these studies. And then we need community members to come in and provide feedback for the SERP plan. Does that kind of clarify it for everybody? Because I think people were reading it and they're really interested, but we're still trying to make certain where people can get involved and what some of these terms mean. So there was like a PM 2.5 that was on the screen. I'm not certain everybody knows what PM 2.5 means. I remember the days when I didn't know. Those are really, really tiny particulates that are associated with gasoline engine exhaust. That you can have PM10, which is tended to be associated with dust, but you can get little, which is PM 2.5. And the reason why PM 2.5 is a big concern and why they are checking for particulates that small is because those can really settle into the lungs. The PM10 can settle in there too, but they're once again larger. And so in some ways they don't quite get down in as deep into lungs and nasal passages. Plus when you're a PM10 and you're larger, you also fall to the ground faster. You don't stay in the air flipping about. So PM 2.5 being smaller and lighter travels further, stays airborne longer, and settles into your lungs deeper. So we want to know about PM 2.5. What was the other one that was on one of the slides that I saw?
Black carbon.
Black carbon is one. Now then, those particulates, if I remember right from my science days, those are still larger, but you don't want black carbon in your lungs either. We all know what happens to miners. You know, they get black lung after a while. So you don't want black carbon in your lungs either. So if I kind of focus the conversation a little bit that way, does that help focus people's questions?
That helped, yes.
I am looking at time, and Janice and Catherine have been super, super patient and generous with us tonight. They are doing double duty for us as well. God bless them. I don't know how many kids they've got standing outside the door going, "Where's my mommy?" But if we do have questions, let's try to make it brief and so that they can go. Do people want to ask questions? Janice, could you put up like a SERP calendar or something so people know a little bit about what to do
Yeah,
while we're getting some questions?
Yeah, let me share our website. You guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is our air district website in general, so airquality.org. If you go to this little tree here where we have community air protection, you click on it. And what you'll see on the very first page is either our next meeting or when we have virtual office hours. All the information is usually listed. We have the Zoom link on there, the time and date of those meetings. And then if you wanted to click on community meetings, we actually have an entire calendar of, click here, of when the meetings are, specifically like looking into the future so that you guys can, either hopefully plan around it, and you'll have the link here. The location changes depending on whether or not we can secure certain locations. So we typically update these closer to the date because we aren't able to get to the reserve like the room or things like that. And then we also have subcommittee meetings that support the steering committee meetings. And we also have a calendar here that also outlines the different times. We have an outreach one if you want, to help us figure out better ways to reach the community. We have a SERP, which is the Community Emission Reduction Plan. That's where we dig in deep into the specific details that folks might want to talk about in their projects. And then if you ever was bored and wanted to know everything about what we've done, the presentations, the recordings, they are all listed here in each of these meeting dates. And they have all of the information, the notes, the materials that we provided. And we typically also even have I want to say a Zoom, sorry, I'm trying to find it. Give me 1 second. We also have the recording of the meeting listed. Some of the meetings that we had in February was an in-person only, so we didn't have a Zoom recording. But for when we do have hybrid ones, we do post them on this website after the meeting so that we can have that, to reference later.
All right, now that we see all those wonderful things, can we have those links in the chat? And I will make certain that they get attached to the recording that gets loaded onto YouTube so everybody can go back in there and grab them real fast. And now that we've had a little time to process on this and see some of the calendars and stuff, are there final questions for Janice and Catherine?
And I'll say that once you all have had an opportunity to look at the link on the different maps and the information, we'd be happy to come back, Jennifer, to answer any specific questions. And if you guys, also want to email us or you want to give me a call, we'd be happy to schedule some time to share with you all our thoughts on the questions that you have.
All right, great. Yeah, we can work on that. I'm happy to bring these conversations to the public in the South area, and as you can tell, in the North area also, because the North area has got their own jam going on with urgent needs. So yeah, tell your friends, even if they live in the North area, the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality District and CARB has things for you to pay attention to. If you are concerned about air quality in your area, there is plenty of work for all of us to do as community leaders.
And we have funding for projects. I'll say that, right? We have funding for projects that can go into the community. So, and that's really important as part of this this program.
And it's a wonderful thing. And I'm very glad that we have spoken up and our government is listening, but now we've got to turn out the communities and let them see us in the meetings and know that we really are paying attention. It's not just something that's an idea that's out there. It's something we recognize we need to be a part of.
And the is typically appropriated like annually. So that's been, I think, one of the biggest challenges for this program is, you know, if we continue to want to have these programs, they want to know whether or not it's been effective and are people paying attention, like you said, Jen. So
yeah, no, the government will focus where there are voters paying attention. That is the honest to goodness truth. And you kind of heard Ryan point to that too. We need to show up and be very clear about our expectations and persistent. And in my experience, we actually do have a pretty good possibility of getting the things we do want if there are large enough numbers who are persistent enough and know what it is that they're looking for. There is an education piece, and Janice and Catherine have come out this evening to help with that education piece. And you can see emails in the chat so that you can also communicate with them as for education about the programs that they are assisting in. And once we get that education, then let's go get our community members and start saying exactly like the conversation tonight has been, the things people are noticing. Christina, you're noticing a lot of carbon smoke. Lisa is noticing strange little air quality monitors in somebody's house in the area. I mean, what are we seeing? What problems are we encountering? And what do we want done about it? And we can step into that space and hold it. And the state and our local governments do respond. They do pay attention, and things do improve. So let's go get those numbers, people. And we'll bring Janice and perhaps Catherine back sometime very soon. I think I now owe them a pizza for staying overtime with us tonight. I've had some pizza at some of their meetings. I think I need to contribute and get them a pizza now. And we can continue this conversation. In the meantime, get all those links out of the chat. Start those conversations in your community. Find the people who are passionate about it. I will tell you, the people who tend to be passionate about it are people who have respiratory problems. How did I get involved? I developed adult onset asthma after living in Mangan Park for 10 years. And once I started the association, I started talking to my neighbors. I have yet to find a household in my neighborhood who's been here more than 10 years that doesn't have a family member with some sort of respiratory disease. Mangan Park is in the 94th, 95th percentile, both state measures and on national levels for respiratory diseases, especially asthma. That means that of the census tracts in California and across the nation, only 5 to 6% of them have worse rates of respiratory illness than the census tract for Mangan Park and Hollywood Park. Meadowview has a couple areas that come up super close to us on the same levels. So we do have problems. Go find your community members who want to care about this and get involved, and let's get them into the meetings. We'll write letters. We'll send emails. Janice has offered herself, God bless her, to receive all of our emails. Yep. So brave lady. And I am, unless there are any other comments, I think we can close this up for the night. Any last comments on this subject?
Yes, I want to say thank you to you, Jennifer, as a great host always. And then I wanted to also just thank the ladies, Janice and Catherine, for coming in, and the rest of your listening audience here, for being faithful to the process and making sure that people are here to contribute to city government in one way or another. And it just helps when we all get involved. So thank you for your participation.
Yes, thank you for inviting us.
Oh, Janice, you are welcome. You can also email me and say, I got hot stuff to share with Mangan Park. And I will look for the next available spot on a monthly meeting agenda to make certain that you do get the time you deserve for this conversation.
Thank you.
And I'm going to ask everybody to stick around just a few more minutes to do closing events. Janice and Catherine, thank you again. And you have my sincerest gratitude for great information that you shared with us tonight.
Thank you so much for having us. Bye.
Bye.
All right, so super quick, events going on in the area. Mayor Kevin McCarty is still holding his listening tour. He's extended it. He was originally only going to go 90 days. He's heading out towards his 100 now and booking out. And Hollywood Park and Mengen Park got a date for that, which is, hang on. Oh my goodness, I didn't put it on my calendar. I think it is Wednesday, April 23rd, but let me double check on that. Yeah, here it is. Yep, so it is April 23rd, which is a Wednesday, at Two Rivers Cider on 24th, or really close to 24th Avenue in Hollywood Park. So if you know where 24th runs right alongside the rail line, close to Sacramento City College, Two Rivers is in that vicinity, a street or two. So look up Two Rivers Cider, Wednesday, April 23rd, for a meet and greet with Mayor McCarty and the listening tour. There are other dates going on across Sacramento. I would check. They're always shifting, which is why, there's not much point in me putting up a slide right now, because in the next week that slide could change. Because he didn't realize there'd be such a high demand to have him come to the neighborhoods. So check out Mayor McCarty's social media for the latest and greatest for where his listening tour is going. But I have it confirmed from his office that April 23rd at Two Rivers at, let's see here. It's in the evening. Let's see here. Time. Oh, you know what? Oh, 6 p.m. That's the time. It's not as clear as the other one. So 6 p.m. Wednesday, April 23rd, Two Rivers Cider for the one that's going to be held in this area. But I know that there are some very southern tippy tip neighborhood associations asking for a stop on his listening tour with them as well. So if you're more down Meadowview, head out there. Chris, did you want to say any events you got coming up Land Park direction?
Well, first of all, Matt King just wanted to say that he also has a listening tour. It's April 12th at 10 a.m. at Golf Course Terrace, Harkness Elementary. 10 a.m. There's going to be coffee and donuts, and that's when he's doing the listening tour there. And Land Park has him doing a listening tour. But you can go on landpark.org and look at that. I think it's May. I just don't have the date off the top of my head. But if you go to landpark.org and you go down to events, you'll find it there.
Okay, so April 12th, Charlie Park at 10 a.m., coffee and donuts.
Golf Course Terrace, Harkness Elementary. So it's going to be in the parking lot, Harkness Elementary School, and there's going to be coffee and donuts. And it starts at 10 a.m.
Okay, so Golf Course Terrace Estates, NA. GCTENA.
April 12th at 10 a.m.
Got it. And then we look for Land Park's date in May. Anybody else have stuff going on? Listening tour or not? Chris, thank you so much for giving us those other two dates. That's wonderful. It kind of looked like you were about to pop off. Anything else? You guys doing the Easter egg roll or anything this year in Land Park?
I'm planning further in advance, but for Juneteenth, that's June 19th at the Capitol, I'm looking for resource vendors. We're catering our event around the Black veterans.
Okay, you want all right, so Juneteenth at the Capitol, we've got Black veterans. And you need what resource?
Any type of resource vendor. So I'm going to reach out to the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Controls, just so that, that's a topic for everybody in the community. But, neighborhood associations, churches, anything pertaining to resources that anybody wants to invite.
Okay.
I have an engagement with at the Capitol.
Got it. And send them your way.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Miss Lisa. Absolutely, I can do that.
Thank you.
Other upcoming events.
I was just gonna say Bunny on the Green is Land Park Community Association is hosting Bunny on the Green with William Land Park Golf. It's April 13th. It goes from 11 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon. And the Easter Bunny's going to be there, and there's going to be a contest for Easter Bonnet Parade. And we usually have a really great time. It's free to the community, and it's being hosted and sponsored. So it's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be face painting and music and food and all kinds of stuff.
Excellent.
Yeah, and
I love it.
Families can get their picture taken with the Easter Bunny for free. So you get that opportunity to do that. See,
you can't beat that with a stick. That sounds wonderful. Alberto, you got anything going on this spring? I'd like to introduce Alberto. He's lives in my neighborhood, and he is very involved with soccer leagues in the area.
Sorry, got to get off of mute. Yeah.
Hello there, Alberto.
Hello. Hopefully you can hear me now.
I can hear you now.
Okay, good. I mean, we've got a lot going on. We actually just had a pretty large event out at Granite Regional. I think you know that that's our kind of our home base. We had something called the Spring Shootout, which is about 160 team tournament, brings thousands of people. Really good, event. We currently have our academy program, which is one of the things that I've kind of discussed with you a little bit about. I would love to see back at Mangan sometime soon. Has about 225 kids in it right now. It's kind of what we refer to as a grassroots program. It's the rest is just kind of our normal everyday, different types of soccer related activities. We've got a Cops versus Coaches event that's coming up in late April, so April 26th.
What? A Cops and Coaches?
It's called Cops versus Coaches. It's actually an event that we used to hold many years ago, 14, 15 years ago. We started it. My other job, my day job is with Sacramento Sheriff's Office. And so in partnership with the DSA, the Deputy Sheriff's Association, back in the day, we had started this event. Well, now we're doing it in partnership with the Sheriff's Foundation and Sacramento United Soccer Club. And so it's just a fun charity event where coaches from the Sacramento United community will be going out playing in a friendly charity match against deputies from the Sacramento Sheriff's Office, and all the funds that are raised at the event will be going to the Sheriff's Foundation. So that's what we got going on right now.
When is that event?
It's April 26th.
April 26th. Where is it?
It is actually going to be held at Sheldon High School. The reason for that is because the Sheriff's Office has an agreement with Sheldon High School because we do security and that kind of thing. But it is one of those events that we would actually like to have in different places with different community organizations. So depending on how it goes, and we hope to be able to sustain it. I don't know if you're familiar with the Pig Bowl, the Pig Bowl that happens at City College. This is kind of the soccer version of such a thing, except a lot more kind of kid based than adult based. So.
Well, that sounds wonderful. And you might not know, Alex Joe lives out in Elk Grove. So when you say Sheldon High School, Mr. Joe is like, yeah.
Yeah. Sheldon High School. We did the very first one there at Sheldon. It was an awesome event.
Right.
All right. I helped coach Toby Johnson back in the day, so I know about Sheldon.
Yes. Mr. Alberto, I wanted to know, I've been looking for about
I just put it out 30 days ago, but I deal with a huge community of Afghanian kids, and I'm looking for
Yes.
soccer balls for them. Do you have
Okay.
any anywhere where they might donate soccer balls to me that I can give them to go play at Rainbow Park?
Yeah, we can get involved with that. We can, we can ask our community if they want to donate as well.
Okay.
So we actually have a large Afghan community in our club as well. So I think that there's a level of comfort. There are some folks who found us over time, and so there's an Afghan community. We also partner. Our men's team is actually a partnership with an Afghan community group. They're called Spingar, which I'm told is a mountain range in Afghanistan. And so there's a community of Afghanis here in Sacramento, and I'm sure they would love to be involved in such a thing too. So if we could kind of put a little something together that we could put out, maybe if you could send me an email with a little bit of information like what you're requesting and that kind of thing.
Sure.
I would love to put it out to our community and see what we can do in response.
Sure. We're planning our fourth annual national night out over here at Rainbow Park. We usually do a basketball tournament, but I'm thinking since, they'll play with us as well. They'll usually come out late, but I see that everybody's getting into the soccer since, we're getting ready to
Absolutely.
put that big old
The World Cup.
professional soccer
We're
field
getting
in, right?
we're getting ready for the
Everyone's
World Cup.
excited.
Actually,
Yes.
2025 and 2026 is projected to be some of the biggest years of growth in the United States of soccer, because the World Cup is coming to the United States, and the last time that the United States held a World Cup, which was in what was it, 1990? Was it 92? Well, the last time that we held the World Cup here in the United States, it saw an amazing growth in participation, and so we anticipate that's going to be the case again.
I'm excited for everybody too. Thank you for answering my question. And yes, I will.
Absolutely.
If you put your email in there, I will shoot you an email. And thank you again.
I will. Absolutely. You're welcome.
Jen, I wanted to mention that the Hope United Methodist Church at Valley High and Center Parkway will have a program for children on Easter, the Saturday before Easter. That's the 19th. And I'm not saying Easter egg roll or Easter egg hunt, because they're trying to change things up a little bit, get away from the candy and the plastic eggs and what have you. So program at the church Saturday before Easter, 10 o'clock to, well, whenever.
Whenever the happiness ends.
Yes. Thank you.
And which church is that again?
Hope United Methodist Church.
Hope United Methodist.
6161 Valley High Drive.
6161 Valley High Drive.
95823.
95823. Okay. Got it. We have a lot going on in the South area coming up. Any other events on people's calendars that they're working on, promoting, want to encourage participation in? All right. Well, I'm now writing in my margins and squishing stuff around. I had no idea I'd be filling up this much space. Before we do close off for the night, you heard Ryan talk about the budget. I am still working through the need for some surgeries on a leg that are keeping me from being at my computer as much as I usually am. So I'm perfectly healthy. I just need to be able to sit more in order to do the really heavy work. Otherwise, in the past, I have always been the letter writer and the one who gets stuff out. I need help this year. So I can still use my mass list. I can still help to get the word out and bring people in for the conversation. But I might need help handling some of the time doing the writing and some other things in order to get that letter out. But we do want to get together and talk about our budget priorities and get that word back out to our communities and start to get signatures and get things in. I think in general, you know, SacPD has already presented. You can go and look up that meeting presentation by Chief Lester. They're still working through presentations from other departments. I think the public comment period officially opens in late April. But you know what I've learned in my years of civic engagement? Waiting until public comment time to start a public comment is not very effective. You want to have that letter in before public comment. You want to try to shape the conversation before it goes really open. So we want to be on this now and try to get those signatures turned in by the end of April, which it actually can take the full month. We can say, oh my goodness, that's a month. Well, in the world of signatures, that's a pretty fast turnaround. And I should have been on it 2 weeks ago, and I'm not. Because as I said, my time sitting at a computer is limited because I've got some veins that are backing up on me when I do that, and the pressure gets very painful. I need to have those addressed. So if people can work together on this, we can still make this happen. Ashley, thank you so much for coming this evening. It's great to have you here, and let's stay in touch. So I'll try to get the email out. Please be thinking about it, and we will try to, and we need to, and we won't try to, we need to get a little conversation going and start writing our letters and getting our signatures out. My experience is that you typically need about 3 weeks to get a good round of signatures that are impressive. I've done it in less time than that. I've done it with massive amounts of support from really awesome community leaders. We've done it in 10 days before, but it was painful. Chris was with me on that one. We both put in 30-hour week in order to get you know, that signature turnaround in 10 days. It really goes better at about 3 weeks than 10 days. We all can have a life.
I really appreciate it. Thanks for the meeting tonight. It was really good. I appreciate it.
You are very welcome. I am very glad you came. Thank you for joining us. And I think it was a pretty awesome meeting too. But it's awesome because I had so many great people coming in with me. Chris, your questions are great. Alex, your questions are great. And Alberto, you're new here, so I hope that this was a good conversation for you as well, because you're learning how these meetings have been rolling now. And Andrew is helping with childcare this evening, and I hope Andrew had a great time too. I think this has been a great meeting, and I'm not going to be editing anything. And we're going to post this as it is, fresh and uncut, because the conversation's just been wonderful. Great people, great information, great responses.
Great, Jen. Thank you. I appreciate. I am still here. I'm just, like Jen said, I'm on baby duty right now. So, I forgive me for not being as active as I probably should have been. But I did want to point out, if you're gonna, Jen, I know Ryan mentioned taking more of an active role in next month. So if you want, if you'd like updates from our office as well, please feel free to reach out to me, and I can coordinate with you on whatever information you want to report back from our office. And so we can keep the ball rolling and keep this momentum going that you have going on here.
All right. I am making a note here. Ryan and Andrew, I need to set up that date for the next meeting with your offices. We'll coordinate all that together, and we will make 4th week of April Mengen Park 34th Avenue meeting. Make certain that there's a focus on that. And you and Ryan will set that date with me, and we will get it done hopefully in the next week. And we will properly promote and get the word out and make certain that everybody has a chance to prepare and feel really good about this one.
Great. Thank you. And my daughter, Emmy, says thank you too. Huh? Say thank you.
Oh, give my best to Emmy.
I know. I'm sorry. She's being shy right now. So
that's fine. Glad you both are here, Andrew and Emmy.
Thank you, guys.
All right. And It's been wonderful. And for those of you who have powered through for 2 hours and 21 minutes with me, God bless and keep you until we meet again, hopefully sometime in the 4th week of April, if not before. So good night and God bless, and let's keep the conversation going. And yeah, here's to a beautiful springtime.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Thank you, Jane.
Good night.
Bye.
Be in touch.